So the afternoon panel discussion is mainly about the innovation of sweets and savory snacks, as well as chocolate, and all of those panelists are very experienced in this industry. So we really look forward to their sharing. But if you have any question, you can put up your hand, and the staff will come to you and give you the microphone. Well, the first thing we would like to discuss is that chocolate is something we all like. However, we need chocolate in more forms, in more varieties. So the first question to our three panelists is that what is the future trend for R&D of flavors of chocolate? And we do look forward to very specific information on this. Well, I'm in chocolate industry, so may I start as an introduction for even better comments later from other panelists. In China, in the past 20 to 30 years, we have accepted chocolate as a foreign thing. To today, when chocolate became very common, and we start to have a taste for even dark chocolate today. Well, into the next 15 or 20 years, I believe there will be some already very clear trends. First, the trend of being healthy. This is something everybody wants now. And second, customization, the personalization. With more and more e-commerce platforms, I'm sure there will be more customization and personalization of chocolates. For example, different tastes and different shapes of chocolates. For example, for your weddings, personalized products for weddings. The other thing is that the go premium. That is another very important trend. That I will just stop here for now. Let's listen to the other two panelists. Thank you. Thank you. What I want to share is that first, as Mr. Zhu from Mars said, that chocolate came as a foreign food, which is indeed true, as we know that in China there are two types of chocolates. Whether it's true fat or not true fat, but anyway, the raw materials come from cocoa. But if you are in technology, you should know the source of cocoa, which is very important because it will affect the flavors that you have in your chocolates. So here I would like to share that about that, because there is a limitation of the plantation of cocoa. 20 degrees along the central line of the earth. Xishuangban in China also lies within this area, the 20 degrees north and south of equator. The major three areas for cocoa is Southeast Asia, South America, and Africa. We know that in terms of the latitude and the longitude, then we have only, and that means we are left with only a few places that can grow cocoa. And consider the soil and the weather. You have a different cocoa with very different flavors and tastes. For example, in South Africa, most of cocoa is bitter, but in South America, in Ecuador, their cocoa have the sweetness or aroma of fruit and flower. But in Malaysia, cocoa has a kind of very light and a little bit sour flavor. And when we talk about the light or thickness of the taste, then we have to talk about the fermentation. Fermentation is very important precondition for chocolate, for the production of chocolate. Among the three major origins of cocoa, And we have very different ways of fermentation, semi-fermentation, full fermentation, or even there are places where there are cocoa beans that have not been fermented at all. Therefore, cocoa beans have very different tastes. After fermentation, cocoa beans need to be dried. Similarly, in the process of drying, people use very different processes. Some just dry it by hanging it up, and they are also drying by heating methods. And the worst method is to use smoke. We believe that the smoking method is not good, and we should not use smoking because it's very difficult to get rid of the smell of the smoke in the later refinery stages. But today, there are still very few number of farmers that are still doing this, so that it's fast and so that it can save costs for those farmers. Local governments usually would intervene. So when we choose the source of cocoa beans, we must understand this. The upstream supply chain usually is responsible for controlling and monitoring all of this. They will select and then bake the beans. And baking is also technology intensive. The temperature are different, the methods of baking are also different. It's like coffee beans. As an R&D people, you have to understand this. The reason why I'm emphasizing this here is that in China, in the future, I believe that this market is going to blossom. Not long ago, I was privileged to be invited to a cocoa annual conference in Sanya. And on this conference, people were talking about an average number of the world. For a mature chocolate and sweets market, the ratio is 5.5 to 4.5. For some, it's even 6 to 4. But in China, this ratio is the ratio difference is really big. Since I'm also the advisor to the Sweets and Snacks Association of China, so I know that in China, in this industry, in the past few years, sweets industry are declining, but the chocolate market is growing very fast. Though, compared with lots of mature markets around the world, there's still lots of room to grow in China. But what I want to say is that as an R&D people, you need to know the origin, the source.
Thank you for inviting me. So we as Cargill, we play in the value chain of the cocoa business, and we supply our cocoa products to companies like Mr. Xu and the cocoa butter, cocoa liquor, cocoa powder. And many of our companies we help with new concepts. In Beijing we have our R&D center where we, as a broader Cargill food ingredients group, we help to develop new concepts. And so we see in I think in the beverage industry, for example, in the cocoa beverage industry, we see very many similar trends as we've spoken about. I think it's nutrition, it's also premiumization, and I see a start of free from. And I really liked the previous presentation where I think that there was a first mention in these sessions so far about organic, which I really found interesting. I think that in Europe, where if we look at the chocolate milk, the chocolate beverage drinks, I think there we see more high fiber, low calorie, and I think here in China we've seen recently more added nutrition, fortification. I think is the key word. So I think if you look at the changes that we'll see there, I think we'll have the focus on health, low calories, but also different different flavors, really localizing. I think many of you probably have seen the green tea chocolate. I think more and more those kind of things we'll see. Mango with chocolate, those kind of things to really localize Asian taste. I think that's what we see in the near future as the new innovations.
A small piece of chocolate has a very complicated process to produce. Now you talk about the trend of chocolate in the future. So as consumers, which kind of chocolate do you like best? Which is your favorite chocolate? Could you introduce your favorite chocolate to us? Well, maybe this question is more difficult than the question I asked. Okay, let me try to answer this question. Well, I've been working in this sweet industry for 35 years. Previously, I worked in the ice cream industry for 15 years. So I ate a lot of chocolate. I had a lot of chocolate. Chocolate from Europe, chocolate from the US. And in my opinion, they are different. You cannot say which one is better than the other. They are different origins. They use different cocoa. As a result, they have different style, different flavors. And I really like organic chocolate, which was mentioned by Cargill. I had 5 to 6 brands of organic chocolate, and one of them is my favorite. I'm from Blommer. That's why I had the privilege to have this kind of organic chocolate. I'm not trying to make a commercial. But what I want to say is that the organic chocolate from Blommer really contains the flavor of flour, a flavor of fruit, and there's aftertaste like red wine. It makes me very happy. And I also gave this chocolate to other experts in chocolate. And some of my friends told me, wow, this one is really good. And I do agree with my friends. The more you eat, the better you like it. And my clients also liked this organic very much. He didn't tell his client what brand this chocolate is from, but he's always saying this chocolate is best they've ever had. In China, there's a third-party auditing accreditation for organic chocolate, and this product cannot be called organic in China at present. But as a matter of fact, it is organic. So maybe we can take this product as a premium product for a special segment. You can focus more on the health part, on the flavor part. I believe this might be another way of making full use of this new product. Wow, that's very delicious.
Different types of chocolate. It's a great industry, and I think one of the icons is the Mars bar. It's a nice caramel taste. I really like the more niche Belgium types of chocolate. But also, it's also a brownie, which is more, on the bakery side. I love. I've been with Cargill for 19 years. A number of years ago, I moved into the cocoa and chocolate division, and it's actually chocolate. I think is a weak point of me in my life. When I start eating a chocolate bar, I always finish it. Actually, to the point that my wife has stopped buying chocolate. and so we don't have that at home anymore. So when I moved to the chocolate division of Cargill, my best friend said, "You're crazy, you shouldn't do it. You're close to, you're way too close to the chocolate, you keep eating all day." So unfortunately, he is a bit right. But so I think it's a very nice industry with different flavors, different types, beverage, ice cream, bakery, and there's so many things to love, I think, about chocolate.
Thank you very much. Well, when you ask this question, I was thinking, because I'm making chocolate in Mars, so I'm really lucky. I have the chance to eat all kinds of chocolate, not only from Mars, but also from other great companies. But which one is my favorite? Maybe I'll say Dove. Not because I work on this brand, but there are other reasons. Miss Shi talked about different flavors. I really like the dark chocolate from Dove. And you can taste the fruity taste from the dark chocolate. That's why I like Dove dark chocolate very much. It's a little bit bitter. There's another reason I love Dove, because that reminds me of my first time I ate chocolate. That was in 1990s. That was the first time I ate chocolate. I was at school and my mom gave me a piece of chocolate. I didn't know what was it, and then I ate it. It was very impressive. It was a Dove chocolate. So it strikes my emotional chord. That's why I love Dove chocolate so much. Thank you very much for your answers. The Chinese market is changing very fast. Last year, a famous business leader said, "Well, last month consumers loved my products, but next month they had a lot of criticism against my products. That's why we need to accelerate our innovation." So the next question, how can companies in this industry innovate fast enough to keep up with the changing market?
I think you can have many different concepts, and I think what we have started to do to help our customers is have a concept library where we look all over the world what companies, for example, in South America are doing, and so how can we help consumers and our customers here in China to innovate faster. I think that over the past 2 days there has been a lot of discussions around Generation Y, that we need to hire people who were born after the 1990s. I think what we see as something which has a lot of impact into the future and which is already happening in Europe. I think as Generation Z is coming into the workforce. I mean, I think that most of that generation, the early parts of that generation, has just turned 18. They will have another different view of what a brand needs to do. And we, as Cargill, we are a deep believer in that a product and a supply chain has to be sustainable. And I think one of the parts of innovation is product innovation. You try to come up with new flavors, new concepts, new style. But if you want to make your supply chain sustainable, that will take a lot of time. It's not something you will do overnight. It's not something you will do in a few months. We have started in Indonesia a few years ago, and in Africa we're already doing this for almost 10 years. We are identifying almost all farmers in Africa. We're plotting their farms. We're checking whether they have children. We're checking whether these children go to school. It's a massive operation to do that, and I think that as the new generation comes online, I think this is something that many of the industry members as present here have to start thinking about how you actually will execute on that.
Thank you very much. Well, I want to say a few words. How to innovate fast enough. This is a very big question. I just want to answer from a small point of view. In terms of product development, to develop a new product, you need to make small batches and try and error. In China, we usually have small experiment, from small experiment to big experiment to product launch. So it is a systematic project. If you are successful in a small experiment, that does not mean you'll be successful in the big experiment. And if you are successful in your experiment, that does not mean you'll be successful in terms of sales. These are my experiences because I witnessed a lot of failures, up and downs. If one link in your chain failed, then no matter how good the product is, the product will not be successful. Now, we have entered into an information age. Market is becoming more and more segmented, and industries are becoming more and more segmented. Like the previous speaker mentioned, their model is a very good example of fast innovation. Well, I used to work in the R&D. I needed to try all kinds of ingredients. Big companies have dedicated R&D team. Small and medium-sized companies do not have a dedicated team in R&D. They don't have enough time. They don't have enough energy to try all kinds of different ingredients. It takes a lot of time, a lot of money. So for small and medium-sized companies, what they need to do is open innovation. They should focus more on market, on consumer insights. And then they can give these insights to their suppliers. For example, I met with a lot of R&D people and CEOs from small and medium-sized companies. They have noticed that it is impossible for them to invest all kinds of money and time into developing a new product. They need to pay for the equipment, they need to pay for their R&D people. They met a lot of bottlenecks, and they believe another way is better. They can simply source raw material from others, and then they can make the cocoa butter into different shapes. So this kind of innovative products may work better. A very famous chocolate company has changed its innovation procedures. It focuses on branding and marketing. It has sold all its R&D equipment. It buys the best ingredient and best brands. So it upgraded the flavor of the products only, and then it has become very successful. So I think companies should be more open by working with your upstream partners. You will be more successful. In that way, you can better meet the demands of consumers. You can also customize products for consumers. In that way, you can also save a lot of cost by focusing only on the market. That is a faster way of innovation. Thank you very much for sharing. I mean, R&D innovation is the hot topic, but also a very big topic. So I want to share with you some of my observations. First, what do we mean by fast innovation? How fast do we mean? a week, a month, a year, or 10 years. There's no specific criterion for being fast. Apart from being fast, you also need to take into account the quality and success rate of innovation. So we need to be fast and we need to be successful. You need to strike a balance between the two. Traditionally, we have specific procedures and processes for innovation. Small experiment, big experiment, and product launch. These are our foundations. But based on that foundation, we need to be more flexible. One possible mindset is like this. We need to be fast when it is needed. We need to be slow when it is needed. Sometimes we need to stop when it is needed or when necessary. So what do we mean? By being fast, I'm saying we should make full use of the online platforms, for example, online stores, to test new products, which was not available in the past. Now you can simply use the online platform to test whether the products will be received by the market or not. Moreover, I also believe innovation is more than R&D. It's more about the whole supply chain. Your marketing, your sales, and your R&D should work together. We do have a lot of new ideas. We do have a lot of new innovations from the R&D. But they may not be successful in marketing, so it is a systematic project. According to Ms. Shi, you need to innovate with your upstream partners, but I want to say you need to work together with your downstream partners. Take online stores and supermarkets, for example. They have direct contacts with consumers. We spend a lot of time and money surveying consumers, but we can simply use insights from them. They have great insights by meeting consumers on a daily basis. And we can also innovate together with consumers. We see a lot of examples of these kinds from other industries. Consumers are engaged in product development, in product testing, so that consumers can give their direct feedback to manufacturers. By doing all of this, we can make innovation faster and more successful. Last but not the least, when doing innovation, we may launch a new product today and then we'll shift our focus to another product. But sometimes we need to stop and reflect on what we have done in the past. Which kind of innovation became successful or became failure, and why or why not? So sometimes we need to stop and reflect. That's why I was saying we need to be fast when necessary, and we need to be slow when necessary, and we need to stop when necessary as well. Thank you. Thank you very much. We talked about the trend of the snack industry. For each industry, there are challenges and opportunities. So the last question, could you just say a few words about the challenges facing the candy and the snack industry? How can we deal with these challenges?
Well, I think for Mars, when it's about innovation for chocolates, we face numerous challenges. We talked about how to understand customers' needs, customers' preferences. All of these are challenges. To me, there are two big challenges. First, how to meet the health requirement of health or wellness of consumers. And I believe that in the 2 days of conference, lots of people talk about health issue. The other challenge is that lots of our consumers are young, and the Internet Plus is actually having a very strong impact on sweets and the chocolate industry. However, to make products healthier, a lot of things are involved. For example, healthy ingredients, elimination of artificial flavors or colorings. All of this requires a lot of time. And I believe that the supply of cocoa is a very big challenge. If we talk about fast innovation or rapid innovation, the balance, a dynamic balance must be found. And it's hard. And I think that we should learn together with the domestic business. One thing that we can learn from them is their approach of a test and learn method. You test it and then learn from it. I think this is a very good It's a very good complementarity to the traditional innovation methods.
I think if you look at the product innovation and supply chain innovation, I think product innovation, I think it's addressing all the different trends that we've seen and that we've discussed over the last 2 days, and you just addressed as well. I think the industry in general has the capacity to do that. I think it was a very interesting article, and you should look it up, in The Economist about, I think, 3 months ago, where many people, including myself, we have the feeling that the cycle goes faster and faster. And in effect, if you look at the details and you look at the facts, it's not the case. Actually, it's still the same as 10 years from now. It's just that we're bombarded with more information, so we have the feeling that it's faster. And so as a company, I think the main struggle in that is to keep the focus. And like with many strategies, you have to do something different and not compete head to head and differentiate. And I think that's the main thing. A second point, and just mentioned by you as well, is the supply chain of specifically cocoa. I think that the cocoa crop is stagnating. It's maybe slightly declining, even though it's the highest priced commodity today. The issue, of course, is that cocoa is a crop, a tree crop. I mean, if you have rice, if you have corn, you can plant corn this year. You could change it to rice the next year. This is not the case with cocoa. If a cocoa farmer moves from cocoa to, for example, rubber, it takes 5 years to replant a tree that yields cocoa beans. So you'll see a lot of volatility in that price, and therefore the sustainability of that supply chain becomes more and more important and a focus of the cocoa industry.
好，我大概就2句话吧。就关于
I'll make just 2 points. First, about product innovation, I think that chocolate for the seniors is right now is a blank market. So we can do some low sugar or sugar-free chocolate with the dietary fibers, which has a market. Second, mass market snack products combined with the nuts, with products that are crispy, tasty, etc., and combined with the 5,000 years of history of China, we have so many ingredients that we can add in. And I believe that in the near future, this industry of chocolate will become better. Thank you very much.